Okay, so I also wanted to show you how you could create an animated GIF or a movie file in Photoshop by working with the timeline, but instead of frame by frame animation, it's using the video timeline, setting keyframes for motion. And so let's just begin by examining this file that I put together. And what I did is I drew all of these things in Procreate. So if I turn on the different layers, there's the cat and the cat tail in case I wanted to animate the tail separately. The inside wall, white clouds, I've got rain clouds, a city, a rainbow, and then the sky, which is an extra long layer because I intended to shift it downward like as the sun rises. And so my layers are bigger. Some of them are bigger than the frame, so I gave myself a 1080 by 1080 pixel sized frame, so I knew what's like going to be in the stage, we call it, or like the canvas that we'll actually see. And as things move off the frame or the stage, we won't see them. So I ended up making a canvas that's much bigger in Photoshop or in Procreate so that I could have all these different layers then to move around. But in the end, I want to make my canvas smaller, and this is an important step. So the first thing that we're going to do is to change our canvas size. So I'm going to go to Image up at the top, Canvas Size. I'm not going to select and crop, because if I select and crop, it's going to cut off things that are outside my frame. So instead, I change the canvas size, but then all of my layers still retain their size that they were made originally. So I'm going to go in canvas size settings and change it to pixels so I can see that, and I want it to be 1080 by 1080 pixels. We're working just in the square format right now. I'll click OK. Proceed. I know my elements are bigger than that. And then I want to move everything to match my frame with the stage. So I'm going to select the frame layer and then hold Shift and then touch the bottom layer, click the bottom layer, select it so that they're all selected, all layers are selected. And then I'm going to just use my arrow key, holding Shift to go a little faster, and then match up with my arrows. I'm just moving it around to match. I have the move tool, by the way, so that I can't see that frame anymore, or the frame pretty much matches the canvas size. So that looks good. I'm going to turn off my frame. In fact, I could delete it. I don't really need that anymore. That was just to get things lined up together. I'll click, I'm going to save this as a different file so that I still have the start. Oh, I have a finished one already. The demo finish 2. You can name that resave over the original file for yourself if you would like, or change the name to anything you want. All right, so now I have, if I show you, for example, my sky layer, I zoom out. If I Command T, it's that big, right? My rainbow layer, all of these things are bigger than the canvas. And that means, for example, my clouds, if I select my clouds, I can move them around, right? And they can only be seen underneath this window layer where the window is open. But even if I turn that off, it's like I can take things off the canvas and they still hold their shape. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is animate all these different layers on the timeline. Let's see, we're going to start with the sky layer position. And I'm going to turn off the clouds right now and the rainbow so that I can just focus on the sky. We're going to open up the timeline. So if you go up to Window and Timeline, that gives us that panel down at the bottom. And we created a frame animation before, but this time we're going to create a video timeline. So create video timeline, choose that option, and then click that button. Mine's set up to be 5 seconds. I don't know if that's how I dragged it out or that's how my settings were, but you can move this thing on the top to create the full 5 seconds. We could also go to the little hamburger menu here and choose the set timeline frame rate. This is the 30-second frame rate, which that's really nice. We could even try 12. 12 is what we do with classical animation, but we'll keep it 30. It'll be nice and smooth for us. And we can add time if we need it, but for right now, it's defaulted at 5 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna simply move this sky layer by setting keyframes for its position. So if you can scroll up and see more of your timeline, you can toggle open the arrow next to the sky layer. You can see I labeled everything really clearly so I know what layer is what, which is helpful when we're animating multiple layers. And if you see these little stopwatches next to position, opacity, style, those are all actions that we can animate over time. And this timeline goes from 0 to 5 seconds, right? And so we're going to start with our position at 0. And whatever movement I make to the sky, that's where its position will be at 0. So I'm going to move that layer, and actually it's really good practice to lock all the layers that you're not working with so you don't accidentally shift other layers. So I just locked all those layers and I'm just working with the sky right now. So I'm going to position the sky to be right there at the start of my timeline. And you can see as soon as I moved it, or as soon as I clicked the stopwatch probably, it created a keyframe, a little diamond right there, right? And now I'm going to scroll over to about 4 seconds up at the top of the timeline. And I'm going to click and drag my sky layer to, I don't want it off the screen, but almost, so that we get the blue sky at the end. And when I made that change, when I changed the position of the sky, it made a new keyframe for me, right? And so if I take my little, my play cue, I'll call it, this little play bar right to the start, and I click play, you can see that that is moving from one place to the other. From the one keyframe to the other keyframe, and then it stops for that last second. Okay, I can pause that, stop, and play that to preview what I'm doing. So we moved the sky successfully. Next, I wanted us to make a sun, because one of the cool things about working in Photoshop is you can also build imagery, right, as you go. Instead of pre-making it, I thought I could show you how to make it separately. So I'm going to lock my sky layer so I don't accidentally move it, and I'm going to grab the ellipse tool over here on the left, ellipse tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see. I'm going to click and drag and hold the shift key to get a perfect circle, or a perfect circle. And then I'm going to, the options that come up, my properties for my shape, I'm going to give it like a nice bright yellow color. I don't want the stroke, so I'll turn that off. And there we have it. We have an ellipse. Beautiful. I'm going to change this ellipse because I know that animating it's easier if it's a raster graphic. So up at the top in layer, with that ellipse selected, I'm going to say rasterize shape. So now it's just a circle in the sky. I'm also going to apply an effect, a layer style that I can also animate. So I wanted to show you how you could do that. I'm going to double click the ellipse, choose outer glow, and I think I might already have this set. You can preview your work here. You can change the color, right? Maybe I'll make it a little lighter in the sky. You can change the opacity. You can change how much it's spreading. It's a lot right now. I'll make it really visible so you can see that effect. So I have a glow on my sun. I'm going to rename this sun to help me keep track. Okay, and so now we're going to animate this sun rising. I'm going to pull up my timeline to be able to see this. Let me get rid of that bar. I don't need it right now. And so my sun is unlocked. All the other layers are locked. I'm going to open up toggle the little arrow in my timeline for sun. And I'm going to animate two things this time. I'm going to animate the position and the style, the layer style, the glow. I'm going to change the glow. So I will begin by clicking the stopwatches for position and style. And then I'm going to, with my my little play wand in the same spot, I'm going to move my sun down from just underneath the buildings there. And then I'm going to move in my timeline all the way to the end. And then I'm going to move my sun up till it's like high in the sky, kind of centered on the window frame. So I can shrink this. At the bottom in the timeline, you see the little mountains, big mountains. That helps you zoom into the timeline, if that's helpful. So I want to be able to see the whole thing. So I have a keyframe set for the first position and a keyframe set for the last position, but I haven't changed my style yet. So what I wanted that glow to be really big at the start, and then later maybe it fades down. So I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to double click in the layers panel my outer glow, and whatever changes I make will set that in time. So maybe it becomes a little more or less transparent, but maybe a little smaller. Okay, so now I should be able to see that change over time. So it's a brighter, probably hard to see, and just like a smaller glow as it gets to the top. So I'll push play, we can see that. Well, now I have a sun rising, and the sky colors are changing to kind of reflect the rising sun.